Good morning everyone, today we're checking out a brand new video from Popcraft Studios. Sorry, I seem a little excited right now about what if Inside Out emotions were SCPs. Let's hop in and see who gets the SCP treatment.
I know I'm late to it.
Oh, I should have said SCP, SPA, Spa Day. Oh, no, I said Spa twice.
But I finally watched Inside Out 2 last night, and I absolutely loved it. The first one is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I think this was a fantastic follow-up to it. And since I've been wanting to do just a classic Dresden-narrated SCP episode, and mess around with exaggeration in my creature designs, as inspired by the most recent Illustrator Reacts episode where I was talking about the creature box artists, I thought it would be fun to take some of the emotions from Inside Out and turn them into SCPs. So let's give that a shot, shall we?
And plus, it would actually be pretty good because Angor, as we all know, is a very short, stubby man, I guess? Like, he's overly short.
Hit like
Got a whistle
if you want. Subscribe if you feel like. But
either way, enjoy the show.
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, we're starting off with Angor. This is awesome.
Today we will be discussing a group of entities that were all spawned from the same experiment, once dubbed the D-Motion Protocol. While the doctors involved have all had their names redacted from the experiment files, the patient involved is still public knowledge within the Foundation. Her name is Operative Riley Anderson. She volunteered to undergo an experimental procedure intended to suppress the emotions of an agent prior to going on a particularly dangerous mission or being given a task to do something necessary but morally undesirable in the name of the greater good.
Okay.
It would essentially ensure an agent did their task diligently without allowing any chance of their emotions getting the better of them.
So, hold on. It kind of was like that episode of The Fairly Odd Parents where Timmy wished he no longer had emotions. And then he just became that shell void of a man, and that somehow was able to become a secret spy, date the woman of his dreams, and all that. If you know the episode I'm talking about, you know the episode I'm talking about.
This would also benefit any operatives who needed to interact with SCPs with abilities that can alter and affect the emotions of those who come into contact with them.
Yeah, that actually does sound useful.
SCP-2006, whose main goal is to frighten any it comes in contact with. Utilizing this procedure would make us able to guarantee operatives who interact with it are not frightened and can do their work unhindered by fear. In theory, it should have been a simple experiment.
Yeah, it sounds like it should have been simple. What the hell happened? Did someone press the wrong button? Was there too much energy put into it? Or did you have no idea where the emotions would actually go when they were pulled from the host? That's one thing a lot of people always forget. When you remove something from a person, you gotta have something to put it in, some kind of storage device. Because if you don't, bing bada boom, now you're dealing with that very being, essence, whatever the hell.
But the doctors thought simple surgical or psychological manipulation effects would not be sufficient and involved more paranormal methods in their work.
Oh dear
The result of their first human trial on Operative Anderson technically did result in her emotions being taken from her, but the intent was for this to be reversible, only temporarily suppressing them. Instead, her emotions emerged from her consciousness and took on physical forms as entities that we then needed to contain due to their effects on those they encountered.
Oh, there you go.
The most blatantly physically dangerous was item number SCP-RA3. Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. RA3 is to be housed in a standard-sized cell with tungsten carbide reinforced walls. Fire suppression systems must be in place and ready for activation, though are not required to be used every time flames emerge from the entity. If that were necessary, we'd be setting them off every 20 minutes or so. Description.
Damn, does it really get that pissed every 20 minutes? Whew, that's bad. Yeah, no, at that point, put him in an ice bath.
Entity RA3 is a 4-foot-tall semi-humanoid with red skin. It does not have a head, but does have a large face, with oversized teeth and no nose on the front of its torso.
Actually, yeah, that is something that I did not realize that he's just pointing out now. There is actually no head on Angor. He's literally, like, no neck. Like, it just head, torso, no neck. Never actually realized that for now. Well, till now, I mean. Huh.
It has large arms and short legs for its stature. It is also often seen with flames burning atop its head, and when it becomes particularly enraged, which is a daily if not hourly occurrence, these flames will get far larger, sometimes spreading across its upper arms and even its entire body. This entity is also referred to as anger or rage, as it is the physical manifestation of Operative Anderson's feelings of anger. The slightest act or statement from Foundation personnel can set it off to become violent and aggressive. In fact, it often needs no prompt to be triggered into rage. Well, it's...
So what, could you just be sitting there, look at it, and then suddenly it's burning with rage? And it's like, hey, what you looking at me for? Oh, I could so imagine this angle sounding like he's just straight out of New Jersey. That New Jersey rage.
Tucked alone in containment, it will often be speaking itself in circles about things from Operative Anderson's past which make it furious. It will even delve into senseless hypotheticals that have nearly no possibility of actually occurring to Operative Anderson at any point in her life and end up igniting into flames of rage.
Yeah,
While the entity is incredibly volatile, it is categorized as safe, because we currently have no reason to doubt that we can keep it contained, so long as we don't allow operatives direct contact with it. Like all these entities, their aggressively strong emotions tend to be incredibly infectious when closely encountered for a long enough time.
Alright, started off with Angle, and honestly, this set was actually pretty good. On the thumbnail, we did see Joy, so she's either going to be next, or, actually, I guess we could have all
Prior to
one.
undergoing this experimental treatment, in a psychological evaluation, Operative Anderson was deemed to be
the first emotion.
Very happy and jovial individual. She kept in good shape, playing in a rep hockey league in her off hours, and had a good relationship with her family and friends. It seems as a result of this having been her demeanor, the most powerful of these entities is the one occasionally referred to as Joy. Item number SCP-RA1. Object class,
Positivity.
Euclid. Special containment procedures.
I'm sorry, did you say Euclid?
RA1. Object class, Euclid. Special containment procedures.
Okay.
RA1 requires no
So Joy is stronger than Rage.
Specialized housing, but only operatives and doctors who have passed an extensive psychological evaluation may enter its containment and interact with it. When they do, it may only be for periods of less than 64 seconds. Those who are approved must be keenly observed by at least 2 other...
Wait. Why specifically 64 seconds? And so, I mean, I get it, you said 60 seconds because that'd be a minute, but why those extra 4? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now you got me curious.
Operatives over the camera and microphones directed into the entity's cell. Description: SCP-RA1 appears as a tall, slender female with a large head and short blue hair. Her face is often peeled back into a large grin that borders on unsettling, even when at its most relaxed.
I mean, look at that thing. That's a good rival. Oh, the Truth or Dare monster, or even worse, the Smile Demon.
The farther her grin extends, the greater threat she tends to be to those nearby. This entity may seem like a positive one upon being first observed. While RA3 is constantly talking itself into states of fury, RA1 is constantly speaking of positive things about her current predicament and those of Operative Anderson's past. She is also very adept at entertaining herself, even in a containment cell with essentially nothing to do. She will often be seen falling into laughing fits at nearly nothing at all, sometimes lasting for over an hour. Because of this demeanor, operatives were more interested in speaking with her and gathering information about the full set of these entities spawned from Operative Anderson.
Oh, I just realized, the way he drew, like, look at his leg. Like, that curve is, like, unsettling, because that ain't human. That's almost bird-like or some animalistic. I get that's the point he's going for, but I gotta point that out.
Unfortunately, once inside her cell conversing with RA1, Foundation workers started becoming extremely elated themselves. They would lose all sense of their mission to extract information and simply start playing word games or thumb wrestling matches or what have you with RA1. They'd get so overjoyed that they'd trust anything the entity said and even willingly release her from her cell.
Oh,
While
that's
causing
why.
joy in those she interacts with may seem rather pleasant, the effects
Actually, no, that explains why, of course, would be limited in the time with it, but that doesn't explain those 4 extra seconds.
do not stop once the person parts with her. In fact, they seem to never stop. The first operative to interact with her for a period of 13 minutes and 48 seconds, Dr. Brianna Young,
that's why.
has since then never been able to express any emotion other than joy. This encounter was 1 year and 3 months ago.
Like they've all
Since
been
then,
drowned
Dr.
out.
Young's mother passed away, and she still has not been able to express any sadness over this event, proclaiming that she will remain positive no matter what.
Oh,
The problem
that's not
is
good.
that she is clearly not feeling the joy she is forcing herself to express. She is simply being compelled to repress every other emotion, causing serious psychological trouble for the doctor.
Yeah, that's
When
bad.
a Foundation psychologist attempted to encourage her to properly mourn her mother's passing, she began bawling uncontrollably, but maintaining a smile on her face and swearing everything was fine, while painfully forcing herself to laugh. Eventually,
Okay, now it's starting to sound like that smile cult from, Mob Psycho.
she began smashing her head on the
You know,
table
with
before
Dimple?
her, claiming it was a fun thing to do and had to be restrained. Thus far, our efforts to reverse the effects of extended interaction with RA1 and any other of these entities have been ineffective, but our hope is that we may be able to return those impacted to normal with very brief doses of interaction with the other emotional entities. Trials remain ongoing and updates will be made to these files as we move forward.
Oh, actually, yeah. If you could have like all 5 in a separate room with only like a door or something blocking them, and you were to put someone like in the center of all of them, and then lower the doors just enough, you could, in theory, get someone to return to at least a semi-normal emotional state.
Item number SCP-RA6.
Oh, of course, anxiety.
Object class,
Eh,
safe.
that's fine.
Special containment procedures. RA6 is to be housed in a standard containment cell with ballistic foam canisters, ready to fire into the cell if the entity begins moving at speeds fast enough that it risks entering a state where it is able to phase shift through matter. There is to be warning in the hallways on either side of the entity's door, warning passersby not to linger too long, as its effects have, on very rare occasions, affected those outside its door. Erasable markers and a whiteboard eraser are to be left in the entity's housing and are to be replenished every time it uses up the ink. Description: RA6 is a 5'4" orange humanoid with an enlarged mouth that stretches past the confines of its head, as well as having oversized eyes. Its arms
Like someone just cartoonishly dropped a brick on her.
and legs are quite thin and are able to move as if they did not have bones. This entity is the personification of Operative Anderson's anxiety. It gets itself into deep spirals considering all the worst possibilities of any experience it or Anderson could ever have. When it gets itself too wound up, the entity will start pacing back and forth, eventually moving so quickly that orange electricity will emit from its body, and it will begin to move imperceptibly fast. In the first week of its containment, it was able to move so quickly that it phased through the walls into the hallway, then attempted to find Operative Anderson and reunite with her. It was able to locate her, but since her emotions have been stripped from her, Anderson had no emotional reaction, while the entity attempted to give her hundreds of warnings, in the span of only a few minutes, of all the terrible things that could possibly happen to her in the near future. Since the entity slowed enough to speak with her, we were able to restrain it and get it back in containment. Because of this
Now I'm actually wondering that, like, if you were to set up Riley as a team leader with all the emotions, could she technically become like one of the mobile task forces?
the entity was categorized as Euclid temporarily, but this has since been altered to safe. This is due to 2 factors. The first is that we have found ballistic foam can slow the entity when it starts to run and keep it from getting up to speeds that allow it to phase through matter. The second is that we found, so long as we give the entity writing supplies, it will simply write and draw out all the different possibilities for what could go wrong, thinking that planning for all of them will stop any bad things from ever occurring to it. This keeps it busy
Panic.
enough and feeling a strong enough sense of control over itself and its life that it stops attempting to escape. Ironically, obsessing about all of its possible problems and solutions is the sole thing keeping it from having any chance at acquiring the freedom it seeks.
Yeah, that makes sense. It overthinks and then it just doesn't run. It doesn't, any of that.
Now, if you would like a proven method for soothing anxiety within yourself, you can acquire a coloring book, such as the Popcross Studios Dragons coloring book,
Drawing
and
is
color some
very
of the
relaxing.
entities inside. Within the confines of this specific book are 50 different dragons and dragon-type creatures that you can color yourself to help soothe yourself, or to entertain yourself, or even improve your traditional
Why not say draconic? I mean, in that case, you'd have everything covered. Dragons, wyverns, worms,
art
all of
coloring
it, drakes.
skills. The entities were all designed and illustrated by the same being who created the visuals of the SCPs being discussed today. While you could find more frightening visuals by purchasing one of the many artificial intelligence-generated coloring books to be found on Amazon, those are unlikely to provide the same level of anxiety relief as a coloring book designed by a human.
And God, are these
The book
beautiful.
is available now and linked in the description. Thank you, and now let us return to the canonical version of me for a continuation of the lecture.
We're back.
Finally, for today, we have
feel.
the personification of Operative Anderson's fear. Item number SCP-RA5.
Not bad.
Object class, safe. Special containment procedures. Operatives are not to enter this entity's housing. Conversations may be had with it for periods of no longer than 7 minutes per operative and must be done over a speaker and microphone system linked to the entity's cell. Description. RA5 appears as a 5'9", mostly thin male, though with an oddly protruding pot belly. His nose is nearly a foot long, he has large bulging eyes, as well as a sort of antenna on his head that will often move into different shapes as he speaks and emotes. While the anxiety entity spends
I guess it is kind of an antenna.
much of its time projecting out and analyzing different future events that could occur, this entity is more focused on things happening in the present that could represent a threat. If it hears the slightest tapping or footsteps outside its housing, it will
Oh, yeah, I just realized? That sweater Theater's wearing, the pattern on it is called Houndstooth.
curl its body deep into the corner of the
Nice.
room and cover its head, rocking back and forth in terror. Even simply activating
Oh, hold on. Okay, I know to the rest of y'all that seemed like it was just a weird cut, but I just had Wi-Fi trouble for some weird reason, so it's been almost an hour. Well, let's just get back into this.
rocking back and forth in terror. Even simply activating the microphone and speaking into the entity's room can trigger its fear and make it go into a nearly comatose state of self-preservation. Because of this, we must now ensure that those who speak to it begin
Oh, look at his hairline. He looks like a cartoonish old man.
their conversations in the most soothing and relaxing
Guess
voice
that's probably
possible.
the point.
We have had some successful conversations with this entity, but must be very careful not to say anything that could trigger it into devolving into a cowering, unresponsive mass. Through these interviews, we have learned some things about what these entities experienced prior to taking physical form, but little of it has been useful thus far. For instance, the entity disclosed that it was under the impression that earthquakes were a myth, and revealed that this had been told to it by SCP-RA1, suggesting that these entities did have interactions with one another in some form prior to being extracted from Operative Anderson's consciousness.
Okay, so this is more like what would happen if you took the Inside Out universe and tried to bring the emotions into this world via extraction.
The conversation at the time promptly spiraled after it was revealed that earthquakes are in fact real, as the entity became so panicked that it could no longer speak. Curiously, this entity has expressed hints of romantic interest in RA6, the entity most similar to itself. While fear and anxiety do share many commonalities, we are unsure if there is any significance to this observation. There is some precedent to put two of these entities into the same space together and see how their abilities affect one another, but until there is a proven way to safely move them without affecting personnel, we have no intention of attempting such an experiment. Studies are ongoing, and if there are requests for more of these entities to be presented in a format such as this,
that is actually kind of interesting.
Please leave them below and I will consider them. But for now, that is all. Good night.
Oh, I bet Ennui is like the most chill out of all of them, considering that she is the embodiment of boredom and emptiness and all that snaz.
If you enjoyed this, I have tons of other episodes turning things into SCPs, a huge series of Pokemon SCPs, Amazing Digital Circus SCPs, Ben 10 SCPs, Lilo and Stitch SCPs, tons and tons of stuff, and give me more suggestions for other stuff I could turn into SCPs, because this is a series I kind of missed, and I do think I'll do some more in the near future. But besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note. And the thought I want to leave people with today is just a prompt to take a pause right now and relax your entire body. Odds are you're holding tension somewhere in your body at this moment. Just relax everything and take a nice, long, deep breath and feel your body relaxing and know that this is a thing that you can consciously decide to do. And you don't just have to do it when someone like me prompts you to. You could even set an alarm to do it once an hour or so and just reconnect and be present with yourself and where you're at. I hope that was helpful or inspiring in some way. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Friday. Goodbye.
Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of you folks next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.